house. When you're sharing a bill with a number of people who've been incarcerated, it seems a little churlish to complain about the lack of space. Nevertheless, it is a little cramped. There's a green room just through there, all sorts of exciting people doing all sorts of exciting things, basically eating pizza, looking at their Apple Macs. But I am joined now by a man who has performed all around the world as half of the UK's most successful duo, the Pet Shop Boys. It is, of course, Neil Tennant. Hello, Neil.
Hello. Good evening.
Neil, what is it that's brought you here tonight?
Well, we've supported the Belarus Free Theatre for a little while, and in doing that, we seem to have got banned in Belarus. So we're with the band.
Is Belarus somewhere that you'd been, was it previously on your itinerary?
No, we've had offers to play there a few years ago, but we've never actually been to Minsk, which is where people maybe tend to play. We've been to Russia several times, but not to Belarus. And I think we're all here for the same reason, because the Belarus Free Theatre stand up for freedom of speech. And, you know, in maybe some of the post-Soviet space, or whatever you want to call it, that's an issue. And maybe in a lot of the world it's an issue. And so I think the Belarus Free Theatre is a really good focal point for that.
And how did you first hear about the Belarus Free Theatre?
Well, they have an association with the Young Vic. And a few years ago, we wrote the music for a show at the Young Vic, and David Lann, who runs it, approached us to sign a petition, in fact, where we got involved.
So without giving too much away, can you tell us a little something about what you're going to be doing on stage later?
Oh, yes, tonight. I'm not doing music. Rather terrifyingly for me, I went into the rehearsal yesterday and said, I'm not an actor, but I'm doing a spoken word piece with Nikolai from the theatre, and it's a Belarus Free Theatre piece called, it's just a savage edit to 8 minutes of a piece called Generation Genes, which is, as you'll see, just about the sort of symbolism of a pair of genes, particularly in the Soviet past, when people couldn't get them, and it represented an ideal of freedom, as indeed, you know, one can say proudly, pop and rock music did as well for people.
So does tonight mark your acting debut?
Well, we made a film in the 80s, which I suppose officially, but maybe my stage acting debut.
The theatrical debut. And what are you and your...
Yes, anyway.
And what are you and your sort of regular conspirators up to? What are the Pet Shop Boys up to at the moment?
We're just finishing off a new album, which is going to come out in spring next year.
Is that on your own label?
It is on our own label through the very cool Cobalt, which simply everyone has signed up to now. And I mean, actually, it's funny you say you're on your own label. When we signed to Cobalt, we didn't. They said, "Oh, of course, it's a deal with your label and us," and we didn't have a label. So now we've got a label called Times 2, and every now and then we think we might sign someone else to it, but we haven't done that yet. So if anyone at home wants to send us their demo.
But you've got plush offices, proper stationery, that sort of thing.
No, not really. Have we got stationery? God,
you've got to have stationery, Neil, for heaven's sake.
I don't think we've got any note to self stationery.
Yeah. Something to write your thank you letters on.
Pet Shop Boys stationery. There you go. It's the album title.
And your own stage musical is back in London very soon.
It does. Out of the blue in March, this famous, if not even notorious musical we did in 2001 called Close to Heaven. There's a small theatre in Southwark called the Union Theatre. They said they wanted to do it. And our manager said, oh, it's going to be on in April. This was like March 28th. And I said, well, like April 2016. She says, no, next month. And so suddenly Close to Heaven was back, and it's a very small theatre, but nonetheless it's sold out in about 24 hours, the whole run, 6 weeks or 4 weeks or something. And so they brought it back, and a slightly different cast. It starts in just under 2 weeks' time. And so we're quite excited, because we hadn't obviously seen it since 2001, and I thought it held up pretty well. And it's in a great venue, because when we wrote the piece, it was meant to be set in a club, and that's the way they've staged it. You walk into the club where the action is happening.
Do you want to give us a little bit of just to sing a little bit from Close to Heaven, just to relax yourself before your acting debut?
Not
just
particularly,
no.
Because I'm speaking on stage. Of course. I'm making my professional acting debut.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and a great cause.
That's very decent of you indeed. Enjoy your time on stage tonight. Now, as Natalia was saying earlier, Belarus Free Theatre are still putting on shows regularly using a brave